and good morning if you're on the West Coast. Welcome to day 5 of Crypto Fashion Week. I'm your host, Lady Pheonix, and I'm joined by 3 total fashion rock stars. I'm so excited for today. We have Rebecca Minkoff, who's a legend in the New York Fashion Week scene. We have Karina from Dematerialize, part of the Luxo family of businesses, rocking the fashion world, especially the crypto fashion world. And we have Mimi Choi. You may know Mimi Choi from her surrealist makeup artist that have gone completely viral on Instagram. She has over 1 billion views collectively, and her makeup skills are completely unmatched. We've done something pretty cool this Crypto Fashion Week, season 2 of Crypto Fashion Week. We've actually paired the digital capsule collection, one dress from there, with Mimi Choi. So we have Rebecca Minkoff in the metaverse and Mimi Choi in the metaverse. Mimi's wearing Rebecca Minkoff's dress, and it will be auctioned on Dematerialize today. Isn't that right, Karina?
Yep, that's correct.
Awesome. So you can check that out at dematerialize.io or .com, Karina, correct me.
We're calm, thanks.
Perfect. At dematerialize.com, you can check out the whole digital Rebecca Minkoff collection. So welcome, ladies. I'm excited to have you here. How's it going?
Hi, everyone.
Hi, it's great to
Good.
be here.
Sweet. So at the top of the conversation, I actually learned a really sweet story from Mimi just before we began, and I'll let Mimi tell the story. But it actually, it's an incredible story, very encouraging. And Mimi, take it away. I'll let you get into it.
So first
The
of all,
sto-
I'm very excited to chat with every one of you, and I'm very excited to connect with Rebecca here because I have to share a very, very cool story. Is Rebecca, you're actually one of the first designers that I got my first handbag from. Actually, my husband, who was my boyfriend when I was 19, 20, the first gift that he got me was from you, a handbag that I still own and I still love. And it's my first ever handbag. And to be able to connect with you here, it seems like everything has come full circle and everything's meant to be. So thank you, Rebecca, for being part of my journey and for dressing me and my avatar in this metaverse. And it's very exciting for me.
Well, I'm honored. You are going to look so gorgeous. I am a huge fan of yours, and the work and the beauty you continue to create is astounding. And you're so talented. So I'm just as excited.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So it's pretty neat that your very first treasured item, the first kind of show of love that your boyfriend, now your husband, purchased for you was a handbag from Rebecca Minkoff. And I love that you said, "I still have this bag. It's my baby. I treasure it." I love to hear that. Um,
Yes.
Rebecca, I'm wondering if you can tell us really quickly, just give us a very brief background on how you started and where you started. You started with accessories and handbags, correct?
I actually started with a very small T-shirt. It was an I Love New York shirt that I cut up and DIY'd in 2001, pre 9/11. It obviously got big after 9/11 because everyone wanted to support the city. um, and look fashionable at the same time. And started the bag in 2005. It was called the Morning After bag, and I think it just hit a zeitgeist of women who wanted to celebrate these milestone moments, whether that's your walk of shame in the morning, or your promotion, or your first job, or celebrating something. And so the brand has really become known as the accessible luxury opportunity for women to celebrate those milestone moments.
I love that. And here we are again in 2021 celebrating a milestone moment for you being the first couture, brand led by a woman to enter the metaverse with a digital capsule collection. Does that feel weird for you to have like a digital collection as opposed to simply the IRL physical clothing?
I don't think it feels weird. It feels like, ironically, we always have been at the forefront of technology and fashion, whether it was our wearables or our store of the future or converting to a see now, buy now model, or using influencers, if, you know, or adopting technology such as Instagram, which was, whoa, shocker. So I think for us, this is just the next arena that we want to exist in. And I think there's so much opportunity to participate in the metaverse, but then you get the fantasy that you can never have in the real world there, which I think is an exciting proposition.
Excellent. I'm hoping to see, you know, at your next fashion week, a bunch of avatars walking around on the floor wearing your digital collection. You had a really beautiful show of the photographs from your collection in your first NFT offering, which appeared on OpenSea, and now with this digital collection, it's appearing with Dematerialize. How did that relationship develop? How did you find DMAT, or how did DMAT find you?
It was actually through an editor at Forbes. Her name is Sharon Edelson, and she interviewed me back in March of this year. And she said, "Why don't you have an NFT?" And I was like, "Uh-oh, if she's asking me why I don't have an NFT, I'm moving too slow." And I said, "Well, who do you know?" And so she said, "You should look into Luxo." And so we spoke and had a great meeting, and then transitioned to Karina and DMAT, and have been working on the collection.
That's awesome. Karina, was this your first time taking a physical collection and digitizing it for the metaverse?
It's definitely the first time that we've done pieces at scale, and I think it's super exciting that this is a way that that these pieces have so many different lives. Like, for instance, because Rebecca's got pre-order, that they've had the photography NFTs, and then now we have this version which is coming tonight as well. So I think it's really important for the industry, so that we can see that these are new opportunities. And I'm really thankful that Rebecca has been brave to take this chance and experiment with NFTs in this way.
What are you seeing from other fashion designers in terms of their adoption to, you know, digital clothing and, you know, appearing in the metaverse or selling in the metaverse? Is there a trend in this direct to metaverse for fashion designers, or is it still a bit slow on the adoption?
The adoption is too slow for my liking, but great for people like Rebecca, who has the bravery to step out there and be one of the first. I think all the conversations that we're having with brands, people are saying, we're watching this space, we're looking at our competitors, and I'm like, well, don't wait too long, because the opportunity is now to really experiment and to get that kind of knowledge and that kudos of being one of the first people to experiment.
So that, I'm really glad you said that. So I love that you kept saying Rebecca's brave. Me, I'm a child of the internet, and for me, I think it's like a natural evolution, right? I'm like, yes, finally, someone like Rebecca's in the metaverse. We can have really beautiful
Yay.
clothing that's, yeah, that's known IRL, but now, you know, has a metaverse component. Like, I'm really stoked. I think that sort of like opens the floodgates, if you will, for other designers to say, oh, Rebecca's doing this, and she's always been at the forefront of technology and innovation, and it feels like it's a signal of safety, if you will, for other designers to come in and do the same.
Totally agree.
Mimi, what is it like to pair your makeup with a fashion designer specifically for a metaverse environment? We're making a face filter of your makeup look as well. How does that like gel with you? Is this your first time in the metaverse, or have you had other
Yes.
opportunities? Oh, it
This
is.
is my
Okay.
first time in the metaverse. And when I was invited by you and Nick to do this, I'm very excited. As I said before, I'm still learning to understand this whole metaverse and NFT and everything. But I'm very excited to be part of this. And as I said before, that I have a very I have an attachment to Rebecca Minkoff. Your bags and your designs and everything has always had a really great meaning to my growth. So to be able to pair my makeup to your designs is just very exciting for me. And as you have said, I also feel like my makeup designs have also been very innovative, and I am also inspired by fear. And so I'm very happy that I am also brave enough to step into this and be one of the first people to experience this metaverse with such a talented designer like Rebecca.
I love that you said that you're also motivated by fear. What is your relationship
Me
to
too. That was
fear?
amazing.
Yeah, fear is the best thing that I have in me. I always tell people I'm driven by fear. Every day I wake up, I'm scared, but it motivates me to keep doing better and improving. And that's why I keep evolving. People are like, how do you top yourself with every makeup look? It's hard because every time I give 120%. So each time when I try to beat myself from yesterday, I have to conquer that fear in me and to raise the bar. And it's very exhausting, but I am very motivated by fear. And fear is how I actually started my makeup career. 7 years ago, I actually was a preschool teacher. Before, I taught 3 years of preschool, and I thought my life was set, but I always felt like something was missing. I felt like my creative side was being suppressed, and it was not until one night my mom asked me if I was going to be happy for the rest of my life being a preschool teacher. I thought about it. I realized that no, I don't think I'm going to be completely happy. And she gave me that approval, that push, that telling me it's not okay to live your life not to the fullest. And that's when I explored doing art, and I was thinking fine arts or makeup was one of the options. And I decided to take a year off, do makeup school, and quit my job. And in 3 days, I changed my life. I went from a preschool teacher, quit my job, and then I was a makeup student. But as soon as I started holding makeup brushes, I realized that there's a world in me that I never even discovered. I didn't know that it was in me, that I could actually be this happy. Creating every day, and every day I have just become happier and happier, and because I feel like I'm not blocked by my fear. Instead, I'm letting it motivate me to evolve and grow into my highest potentials.
Wow, that's amazing. Rebecca, kind of same question. What is your relationship to fear and how has it affected your practice on your business of fashion? Rebecca, are you still with us? Okay, I'll ask Karina the same question in terms of being an entrepreneur. Karina, how has fear motivated you? Because you're also a university professor, correct?
Yeah, no,
How?
I think it's a brilliant question, and I guess people always say like if you're not scared or you're not pissing people off, then you're not getting anywhere. You're not trying hard enough. So I guess that is something that I try and like inspire others to do, and I guess I always like if I'm confused by something or if I'm trying to like figure out, which is again one of the reasons that I got so fascinated with digital fashion and NFTs was because it still does. It keeps me awake at night in terms of similar to what Mimi said, the kind of limitless potential of creativity and all the stuff we haven't done yet is so exciting. And I want to hopefully be someone in the industry that facilitates those connections and tries to make things like that happen.
I'm curious to know so we have NFTs, we have the metaverse. How about the other things that are happening? There's so many great contemporaries in the space. Don Allen, who's into AR, DressX, is doing AR things. We have AR makeup, right? What's the relationship to the metaverse and fashion and augmented reality or XR, extended reality? Karina.
Yeah, sure, I can jump in here. I mean, for me, I think they're really important for adoption. I think that consumers can understand augmented reality sometimes a bit more than they can the metaverse. And so in terms of like a potential utility or why would you try or experiment with digital fashion or digital makeup, augmented reality is an accessible way because typically we can utilize it via our phones, and I love that it's getting easier to use web AR or social AR rather than having to use an app. So I think accessibility and digestibility of of virtual and digital identities is where AR can help us.
Can you say more about that in terms of identity?
I mean, again, I guess I got into AR before I got into digital fashion, and the thing that fascinated me about filters, whether they were facial or whether they were kind of like more artistic and filters on photos, was I think it kind of brings out your inner creativity, even if you're not a creative. Like, I guess I consider myself more of a strategist than a creative, but augmented reality gives me a tool where I can experiment again with my identity, or the way that, for instance, on various different I don't know, profile pictures that I have across social or even on my social media. Um, Augmented reality has helped me try on earrings, or like figure out what I would look like in sunglasses. Like if you go shopping by yourself, it's really hard to shop for sunglasses, but augmented reality is a really practical way that you could try something like that on. So I don't know, that's quite a practical use case.
Mm-hmm.
Very much so. And I often, now that I'm, exposed to Mimi's practice and augmented reality and what we're doing with Meta Gala, um, I'm often now trying on different makeup filters
Mm-hmm.
through Instagram and Snapchat, trying to figure out like what I look like in certain makeup looks. I'm not very much, a makeup person. I prefer a fresh, bare face for myself. But lately, I've been experimenting with these filters, and I must say I really like it. Like, I wish that makeup companies would consider selling, you know, the face. That way you can just get everything at one time, and it wouldn't be a very big deal, and you kind of already know what you look like. But maybe that's, a few months or a year down the line. Maybe Mimi, you'll be a part of developing something like that.
I would love that, but because I feel like, especially since this pandemic, people are more and more attached to using their phones too to connect with others, right? As you have mentioned before, putting on filters very easily in the morning before a Zoom call maybe could be very helpful and practical for a lot of people who might not have the skills to do the makeup, or they might not feel like they're creative enough to to rock a certain look. But then once they put the filter on, maybe it's going to inspire and take the creativity out of them. And it's a fun way to experiment and to try out different looks, and it's very exciting.
Right on. I wanted to go back to this idea of fear a little bit. Um, do we have Rebecca back? I think she dropped for a moment. She's trying to get back in. Okay, she's not back. I want to go back to this idea of fear a little bit, and beauty in fashion. What do you think that the greatest fears of the industry is? Like, why do you think the industry, and I guess, Karina, this is more for you first. Why do you think the industry is so slow to change when it seems like the internet or the metaverse is such a playground for acceptance and for people exercising their power and finding their voice and, you know, um, becoming more of who they are in the best ways possible? Why do you think IRL in the industry is so slow to adopt that when we can see, online that it's not only a trend, it's the preferred, way to be with each other. It's a preferred way to be with ourselves, right?
Yeah, I think it's a bit unfortunate in that, because I've been pitching to many brands for many years about experimenting with emerging technology. And one of the main kind of pushbacks that I get, and this is kind of a criticism of often any new innovation, is that the return on investment is the economic return on investment quite often isn't immediate, and that's a massive risk, especially for the more established brands. So I see that that's one of the main barriers that makes the decision makers, so the C-suite people, for example, who have the budgetary sign-off, that makes them nervous if they can't kind of like see that. And I guess back to that kind of notion of fear, the thing that I've really searched for in my conversations or when I'm kind of like networking is to find those people, a bit similar to what Mimi just said about like having a broader mindset. So saying, okay, maybe we might not sell stuff, or we might not make a lot of money immediately, but we're experimenting and we're understanding more about our audience and we're finding out more about what people want. So not just having that economic KPI, which is quite often an imperative for different brands.
But it seems like more that there's like more and more social currency to take into consideration, and sort of like
Yes.
this idea of slow fashion, you know, this idea of being slow on typical returns, but really quick to see, you know, the immediate KPIs on the social end, right? The
Yeah.
way we're able to
Social
kind of
proof
quickly
is
measure
so,
social
so
media.
important.
You said the proof is so important.
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to add that that kind of notion of social proof, and obviously consumers look into their peers more than they do maybe to brands for that reassurance and for that kind of endorsement and experimentation, or again, the creators themselves, like Mimi.
Mimi, what's been your experience? Why are brands or kind of the industry, why do you think they're so slow um, in terms of like innovation and adoption of what we see happening in the metaverse?
I think a lot of brands and artists in general, they might not really understand exactly the meaning and what metaverse and what this whole world is about yet. I think there's still an observation. And again, I feel like people nowadays, they are afraid to jump off of what they're doing, they're comfortable with, and they follow whoever is doing, um, follow trends that are already done at this moment just to stay safe. And I think they're waiting for people like Rebecca and Lady Pheonix, you to kind of um, show people how it's done and that how it's possible, and then people are going to start being less scared. I think that's with everything too, with the makeup style that I do too. I realized that the reason why the world has embraced my art in this way was because I feel like everyone has a uniqueness to do something that's very shocking, but a lot of people are scared to that people are going to judge them, that they're doing something different that is out of the normal trends. But I think the most important thing is actually to actually create your own trend, just like how we're stepping out into the metaverse right now, showing the world how it's done. I think that's going to inspire people. People need to see somebody start something so innovative first before they feel that it's okay for them to jump in.
Very interesting. So kind of like safety in numbers. I guess
Yes,
that is very
yes,
much a human trait, right? We
it
don't want to be
is.
the first one out there to do something. We want to know that, you know, we're amongst good company as we, you know, venture out there and try something new.
I
Speaking
believe
of
so.
which, Karina, what makes a successful drop? Dematerialize has had, you know, you could arguably say that every drop that's um, come up on Dematerialized has been a successful drop. Recently, you all had the Karl Lagerfeld drop, and now you have the Rebecca Minkoff drop. What's the recipe for a successful fashion drop in general, but maybe specifically also on Dematerialized?
Da, da, da. I just maybe wanted to go back to something that Mimi just said as well. I think that there's a real authenticity as well when we see individual creativity, which, just to add on the kind of decentralization part, is really facilitated by NFTs and digital fashion and digital makeup. And so I think they're all like hyper complementary to each other. So I just wanted to add that on. And I think I mean, the answer to your question is it's actually different every time, and we're definitely still experimenting and kind of perfecting our kind of recipe. But I think there's a couple of things that we've noticed so far. One is definitely around have a narrative around the collection. So what's the purpose? For instance, the Karl Lagerfeld drop was centered around Karl's birthday. The asset itself should also be iconic. So for example, the item that Mimi is wearing at the Met Gala, to me, is the one I love the most. I think it's super iconic in Rebecca Minkoff's collection. So I think the aesthetic and the iconography around the asset is really important. And then I think the last part is around utility. So what is it that the owner or the buyer of the NFT can actually do with it? How can they showcase it? How can it live on after you've kind of purchased it? And for those types of things, for every drop we do, we try and experiment with new sorts of utilities or platforms or different things.
Very cool. So let's dig into the iconic dress that Mimi is wearing it during Crypto Fashion Week at Met Gala on the 17th. So give us some of this narrative. So we're gonna play this drop out as if it's happening live now. I know it goes live, in a few hours later on this evening, but let's play it out as if it's live now. So for the dress that she's wearing, can you describe it and tell us what makes it so iconic?
Sure. Well, one thing is actually, and I guess I don't know if this is more modern, but it's not a dress. So it's a jumpsuit. And the jumpsuit is really kind of set off by the accessories, which are these really I am obsessed with the word iconic today, but with flames details. So I think, again, what's kind of interesting about that is that one of the, I guess, internet it's not an acronym, but when you say that you like something, or we use the flames emoji, that was another reason why we dematerialized in Rebecca when we were brainstorming which outfit that we should dress Mimi in. This one I think is also like the like really special because of that, because I hope that people will use the flames emoji, or like, I don't know how many people still use it's lit, but like kind of things like that. And the flames outfit, the full look, is also the one which has the least editions. So there's only 5 of them available. Yeah, I think that's the kind of like the key things.
And does the jumpsuit itself come out of any particular narrative from Rebecca on why she created it? Or, was it just, something she wanted to create?
I think if I remember correctly, she kind of, I think jumpsuit story. I'm also like a massive fan of jumpsuits, are like, they're pretty empowering. I think you quite often feel like a kind of superhero in them, and also like the fit of it. It's like it's really fitted to the body. And so that, in conjunction with the flames knee-high boots and the flames bag, I think maybe he's going to look like a superhero.
I can't wait. And the cool thing is, I actually love wearing jumpsuits in real life. Every time I go teach a master class, that's what I wear, because I feel very empowered in a jumpsuit. I feel very artistic, and it's cool, and it's also very comfortable. So it's really cool to know that I'm gonna be rocking a jumpsuit from Rebecca.
So you've got your handbag, you've got your jumpsuit.
I know, it's crazy.
You're ready to hit the red carpet.
Yes.
In the Met Gala.
I feel so empowered.
Okay, so Karina, you said that part of the formula for a good drop, right? Part of the recipe for a good drop is having a narrative. So we've established the narrative for today's drop. Today's drop is really centered on the narrative of empowerment, centered on the narrative of, graceful but strong femininity, right? Because you feel elegant, you feel beautiful, you feel strong, You have those super hero qualities. You feel empowered to take on the world, that you can do anything, that the tasks you set out to accomplish, you absolutely will accomplish them. And it's so important to feel confident in what you're wearing, because it actually reflects on how you carry yourself and walk throughout the day. You'd be rare to find someone that feels good in what they're wearing, that doesn't actually reflect those good feelings out onto the world, would you say? Even in the metaverse, right?
Yeah, and I think maybe just one extra part of the narrative is around like extension and kind of like limitlessness, if that's a word, because I think that's a core benefit of experimenting with both digital fashion and digital makeup, and that notion that although in theory you can be whoever you want to be IRL, I think you have a higher opportunity, or it's easier maybe for the reasons that kind of Mimi was mentioning earlier. And I've done a lot of work with consumers, asking them about digital makeup and digital clothing, about that kind of transformational aspect that I don't know, it feels easier to be who you want to be in that kind of digital environment, and with those digital tools, if you like, if you can call the clothes that, or even armor, I suppose.
Yes, I agree. And I feel like it really relates to what I actually always say in my classes too, that your imagination is the only limit. You can be anything and anyone you want in this life if you want to. And you can pull up anything as long as you're confident enough. So I really feel like this whole look with the makeup and the outfit really actually is, I feel very aligned to it, my beliefs and the way that I am.
That's amazing. Because I was just thinking to myself, for parents or, adults who get gifts for children, it's completely realistic for them to, give Robux or, whatever metaverse in world currency exists to buy skins or, digital clothing or sword or shield or whatever it is.
Mhm.
Um, that seems and feels realistic for adults, for children. But when it comes to themselves, right, and the possibilities of expanding their imagination to, add to who they can be, right, even if it's just a character inside the
Mm,
metaverse, it feels like there are a lot of blocks present. And so I'm
mm,
really excited for fashion to be uh, an adult person's excuse to dream again, to be playful, right? To
yes.
really invigorate and stoke our imaginations. What I love about the metaverse and identity and power is that, if I want to show up as a big purple unicorn, I can do that. And no one's going to say a word to me. They're going to be like, you look so fantastic. But if I
Hmm.
show up in that same purple, as the same purple unicorn in the real world, people are ready to call, social services on me, right? Because they think that I've kind of lost my marbles. And so I really love this idea of digital makeup and digital clothing being a catalyst for more imagination and more life amongst adults, right? Like
Yes.
more childlike innocence for play and discovery and curiosity. That's what excites me most about digital
Yes.
fashion and digital makeup. What excites you most, Mimi? And then please answer the same question, Karina.
Well, I should completely agree with you about how you say adults. I feel like everyone has an inner child and innocence in us that never dies. But as adults, we are somehow blocked by fears, maybe fear of judgment, by what the society expects of us. That a lot of us actually suppress ourselves to not be playful and creative anymore. And I'm very excited to see how um, through uh, the metaverse, and then having people experience makeup filters and fashion digitally is going to help people refine that kind of innocence and also playfulness, and it's very important. I always like, it really brings me back to the time when I was actually a preschool teacher. I always felt that I always wondered how come it seems like children had it all when they were first born. They're happy. They enjoy the simple things in life. They're very, very excited about the simple things and about being creative. And they say things without filters. But as we grow older as adults, it seems like we are going further and further from authentic happiness. And I feel like this whole metaverse world is going to help bring this innocence and playfulness back into adulthood.
I love that. Same question for you, Karina. What are you most excited about for, for the world, really, for adults in particular, in the context of digital fashion and digital makeup?
It's a great question. I think there's a few things, and I think some of them relate to some of the work that I know Luxo's doing in terms of NFT 2.0. So just thinking about the super cool things that smart contracts are going to be able to do in the future. I think there's some things creatively that and I'm talking kind of more about specific fashion that, I mean, if you think about why CryptoKitties were so successful in the first instance, that notion of the breedability was one of the things that why people wanted to purchase them. And I think we haven't seen kind of like much of that yet with fashion. So I would love to be able to, I don't know, crossbreed a pair of my shoes with a picture I see by my favorite artist in a museum, or I also like the idea of like layered ownership that I know people like the Fabricant have experimented with. I think generative kind of fashion is super cool. I'm sure you might have seen the project that Luxo have just released with the Draw the Blood dress to raise funds and awareness for anti-violence against the trans community. And then other things like being able to kind of like rent digital items or have the digital items deconstruct or decompose if you don't use them, or I don't know, like I guess on a functional level, that kind of stuff. And then on a very creative level, I think you might know, like I'm obsessed quite a lot with vintage fashion. So I just really want to get my hands on some of the like Hussein Chalian dresses that turn into tables, or Iris van Herpen, things that I could never ever afford in real life, that maybe, just maybe, I could try on digitally once.
You make a really good point. And just to review here, earlier you said that the mechanics or the elements of a successful drop are a narrative, right? And I think that the performance of the garment is a great part of the narrative. Are there any performance aspects to the garment that Mimi will be wearing at Met Gala on the 17th that you guys are dropping today at Dematerialize? What time is that drop?
It's in like 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Okay, sweet. European time, correct? In the evening European time.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So that's virtually 3 o'clock if you're on the East Coast, and noon if you're in the Pacific. And so wanted to go back to something that you said, Karina, in terms of again the elements of a drop. So you said narrative. So wait. Will the flames be moving? I didn't get that. Are the flames moving on the jumpsuit?
Unfortunately, the flames are not moving just now, but some of the other pieces do have elements that sparkle.
Wow, love that.
Okay, awesome. And then you brought up utility. So you said narrative and utility. And I think it's a given that the third aspect is the actual garment has to be awesome. Right? You can't just come with like a trash bag aesthetic. Even though Missy Elliott made it cool in her video, but you can't just come with a trash bag aesthetic and decide that's what you want people to buy. Like they're not going to buy it. The outfit has to be lit, as Karina would say. and has to already look good, right? It has to be fresh. And then there has to be a really compelling narrative. And then the next, aspect or portion of the recipe is utility. Karina, you mentioned smart contracts. For those that are new to digital fashion that may be listening now, can you, just dive a little deeper into what you mean by smart contracts and how that would, how that relates to the NFT and utility?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm still perfecting the best way to explain NFTs if I'm in a lift in kind of like 30 seconds. But the best way that I try and describe it, like the value of an NFT, is that it has these two parts. The first part is the unique identifier, which is the part which needs to be visible on the chain, on the blockchain, and the second part is this. A smart contract, which acts, it kind of has I guess, parts to it. One part is that it acts like a digital certificate of authenticity. So it demonstrates the provenance of the person who created it, any subsequent owners of that particular garment or asset. And it's really the smart contract part that adds the value, because at the moment, if you think of a JPEG or a .mov, it doesn't necessarily have, or it's hard to prove, if you like, its intrinsic value. Its intrinsic value is subjective based on whether you like that JPEG or whether you like that .mov. But when you start to then add an NFT to it or embed it, whichever way you want to think of the relationship, that enables the piece, which whatever it is, to become an asset, and that asset can then be traded. So that's kind of, I see I didn't manage to do it in 30 seconds, but maybe I managed to do it in 90.
No, it's all good. Something you said earlier, as you brought up the dress that was on V Magazine. For those that don't know, you can go over to the Dematerialize on Twitter or Instagram and check out the dress that Valentina wore to the IRL Met Gala. And it looked like blood was coming from her neck.
Yeah,
Am I
exactly.
just
Like it was designed to be like, I on Dematerialized, when we reposted it, we put a trigger warning on it, because when you actually read more into the story of why and how the project was created, and the factual statistic that this year has been the worst year so far for violence and murder of people within the trans community, it's like, I don't know, I don't know, it makes the art piece have a different purpose, because it kind of stops you in your tracks, and I don't know, certainly that's what, on a personal level, that's what it did to me when I saw it.
And was that like a generative dress?
Well,
What type of dress?
Neri, who created it, is definitely, I would say, one of the pioneers in the space for, like, he made one of the first generative dresses that was on flames and things like that. So yeah, I would definitely suggest people to check out his work, Neri Feature, if you don't already know it.
Sweet. And, connected to that, Mimi earlier connected to the idea of utility and the idea of performance, and the idea of appearance and youthfulness and imagination. You mentioned that you were a preschool teacher, right? So, looking
Yes.
at the other side of reality, where we have adults who are dealing with like fear and, limited beliefs, members of our, human family dealing with violence against themselves or the way they look. You don't really find, or the, lifestyle they choose or who they are, in life. You don't really find that in the metaverse. And so right now in the metaverse, we are still like those preschool kids, right? Where there
Yes.
isn't a filter for violence or danger or any of that. All the filters are set to curiosity, exploration, and joy. I was wondering if you could tell me about your childhood and how you grew up and how you grew into the person you are now. What were your beginnings like?
My beginnings, I was actually, I was born in Macau. It was a Portuguese colony, but now belongs to China. And I was brought up in a way where it was very, very academic focused when I was a child. Um, it was a school that had a ranking system since grade one. And I remember a lot of my childhood was spent studying nonstop, memorizing things that I felt like my parents felt like it was kind of other than um, helping me become a self-disciplined person, it really, really didn't do much to my knowledge, because a lot of it was about memorizing and about getting good grades. And that's why my parents actually decided to immigrate earlier than what they had wanted before, because they felt like I was going crazy studying all the time. They wanted me to have a normal childhood. So I moved to Canada when I was 11 years old. And when I came to Canada, it was a completely different world. I started having friends and starting doing children things, and studying was not my focus. It was more about building an identity, which at that point was very uncertain to me, because all throughout my childhood, it was about following rules, being the perfect student, that kind of thing. Um, and also growing up in an Asian family, even though my parents are extremely open-minded, very loving, and um, everything that I can hope for in parents. But as an Asian child, I always had that fear that I was going to disappoint them. So again, after high school, I chose the safe path. I thought they wanted me to choose a safe career, like be a have a profession, like being a like accountant or a lawyer or teacher. And I chose preschool teacher because I always have a strong passion in children. I love children and I want to educate and everything. And again, it was not something that completely made me happy. And it was not until my parents, actually, who know me the best, um, when they told me they just wanted me to be happy, that made me realize that a lot of the fears was assumed by myself, that I feel like people wanted me and expected me to do certain things, but it's actually my self-imposed fear. And that realization that this fear is not real has really opened me up. And it's not until I became a makeup artist 7 years ago that I realized how happy life could be. And if I didn't make that jump, I really feel like I would be missing half of who I am right now. The person that I am now, um, I did not dream to be able to do what I do at this moment when I was young. But because I followed my heart and I did a lot of scary jumps that helped me guide me to this path. I'm very grateful that the events in my life have led me to this path, that I'm able to not be blocked by my fears, but instead be motivated by it. And every day I tell myself, every time I teach a master class, I do a job. Like I always travel around the world with my husband, who's my business partner at this moment, and every job we take, like international jobs. Sometimes, I work with teams for many, many hours, 16 hours on set. And a lot of times I get frustrated or I get scared. I'm not sure how to do certain things in such a short period of time. But every time I realize I'm able to accomplish it, and not being not being dragged by fear, but instead of being fueled by it, has really allowed me to keep evolving and help me grow as an artist.
Wow. Well, I love that. I think that's a perfect note to wrap up this segment on. Thank you so much for being in conversation with me today, Mimi Choi and Karina Nobbs from Dematerialized. Mimi Choi is the spokesperson at NYX Cosmetics. NYX Cosmetics is our premier makeup partner for Crypto Fashion Week. You can see Mimi Choi in her Power Suit by Rebecca Binkoff on September 17th at the Meta Gala. You can check out the drop from Rebecca Minkoff's digital capsule collection this evening if you're in Europe, this afternoon if you're in New York, and also early afternoon if you're in the Pacific, right on dematerialize.com. I'm your host, Lady Pheonix, from Universe Contemporary, and I'd like to thank my co-conspirators, Greg and Dylan, for holding us down while we lift up the entire digital fashion community during Crypto Fashion Week. This is day 5. We have 2 more days to rock out with you guys. You're absolutely the best audience. We love that we have you here, both in spirit with us and physically. You can check us out at Universe Contemporary on Instagram and at Crypto Art Advisor on Twitter. Check out Mimi Choi at Mimless. Is that how you say your
Mimos?
Instagram?
Mimos.
Mimos?
Yes.
Mimos, okay. Mimos on Instagram. And are you pretty active on Twitter, Mimi, at all?
Not on Twitter. I do have Twitter, but I'm active on Instagram and TikTok mostly.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, so check out at Memos on TikTok and Instagram. Thank you so much. You can catch more at Crypto Fashion Week on Instagram and at Crypto Fashion Week on Twitter. We'll see you guys in our next segment. Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.